If you have any questions or comments for the good of the board, I ask that you stand and identify yourself and what residence you so live in, and then address whatever questions you have. I also ask that you take the time to sign in, please. I appreciate that. All right. Let me do a little housekeeping. If you're going to share any thoughts or concerns or opinions with the board, I ask that if it's specific to another resident, that you not identify that individual or individuals, that you speak in general terms, because this is a public meeting, and we ask that you respect their privacy. We also ask that you then do a follow-up if you need to provide specific information to the Housing Authority Administration. I also ask that we limit our questions, comments, and concerns to less than 3 minutes. If there's another individual here who's already expressed exactly what you were thinking, you don't need to echo what they just said. You can say, I concur, I agree with their, and if you have any additional information to share, that will be it, but you need not repeat exactly what they said. All right? Because trust me, we are listening to you, and we'll follow whatever your directions are. With that, does anyone have any questions or comments?
I do. My name is Meliss Paulus. I live at 26A Glen Avenue in Phillipsburg. This is going to be very difficult to keep under 3 minutes. Number one, I had a question on why there was no roll call. I've never been to a public meeting where there was never a roll call. When you spend money, you should be making a vote call. You shouldn't be doing ayes. I'm sorry, but I've never seen a public meeting like this before. But the reason why I'm here is on behalf of my mother had been a resident of the authority from 2008 to 2016. I've been before the commissioners back in 2016 because of the harassment that she endured during her residence at, or the time of her residence at O'Donnell Apartments. I was unsuccessful in getting a response and having the issue taken care of or addressed. In light of the front page newspaper on Friday, I think it's very important that you all be aware of the types of harassment that not only the residents have experienced, but the employees, as you very well know from the litigation that's ongoing. Again, there was an incident with my mother that the property manager had sent her a letter that was falsified documents, and it was never dealt with by the commissioners. I had contacted HUD, I had contacted the state, I had contacted the local government officials, and I got nowhere. And I think this is the time where somebody needs to start dealing with your issues here. I don't know how much more time do I have, because I have tons of documents. And I think also you should talk about cell phone usage. As you very well know, there is a problem with inappropriate cell phone usage that's issued by the Housing Authority. I don't know what your policies are, but again, I think in light of the current litigation and complaint by an employee, something should be done about it. And I'd appreciate if somebody would reach out to me to talk to me. I understand that you can't make any comment about the litigation. But again, I would like to pass out my documents so that the commissioners that are on your board now are aware of what my mother went through when she was a resident. And no one that was here, there are a couple of members that were on the board at that time that wouldn't totally refused to let me talk about it. So I don't know, are you willing to look at documents?
At this time, let me introduce myself. I'm Catherine Fien. I'm General Counsel to the Housing Authority. I'm going to give you my card if you want to be in contact with me. Okay?
For what?
If you would like to pass on information.
This is a personnel issue that should be dealt with by the commissioners, not the attorney. I tried talking with the attorney. I had a meeting with the attorney, my attorney and my mother.
Do you still have an attorney at this time?
Yes, I do.
And can you provide me with your attorney's name?
At this time, I will do it through email.
Okay.
It's the same attorney that was involved before.
And I'll also make this comment at this point, what you're discussing is a potential personnel matter which cannot be discussed without the employee present or them having notice of that, and at this time, this board cannot speak about a personnel matter.
I totally understand that. But what I'm asking is, am I allowed to distribute the documents that I have in my possession on what transpired when my mother was a resident to the current board members so that they know what they're dealing with? I'll tell you right now, I was at council meeting last night and I spoke. I'm encouraging everyone, past and present residents and employees, to come forward with their allegations of what has happened, because this is not an isolated case. And I honestly think, typically I'm not an emotional person. I don't get stressed. I have no problem sleeping at night. But let me tell you something. Ever since I read that article in the paper, I have had trouble sleeping, because had I been a little bit more persistent in my case here, maybe Mrs. Tersigny would have never been going through what she's going through now. It's disgusting, and it should not be tolerated, and it should be dealt with. And it's not just your executive director, it's the other employees here too. Now, I won't state titles, but it should be, I will guarantee you those documents are probably not in the Housing Authority files. I bet you they've been disposed of. That's why I kept everything. I started going through my emails. I have at least 50 emails. I have text messages, I have pictures, I have videos on my personal cell phone that were sent to me by an employee of the Housing Authority. And you know what? I let that out here at a meeting and no one would contact me. You know who did? Rick Turdo. I told him everything. And nothing was done. And now you have a lawsuit against you by an employee. Like I said, I am sick to my stomach that I didn't force something to be done. My mother ended up moving out because of the lack of action by these commissioners. You take an oath of office and nobody stood up for her. And that was disgusting. And I think for the amount of money these people are paid and the benefits, I think everybody here in this room should be ashamed that you're allowing this stuff to go on. You know, when she was a resident down there, they would put in work orders for work to be done. They would get excuse after excuse on why it couldn't be done. You know what I did? I called the insurance company. Guess what? The next day it was taken care of. People shouldn't have to live like that. You just sat here and said how you have a surplus of over $13 million. It's not like you don't have the money to spend to fix whatever needs to be fixed. And again, I'm a transparent person. I am brutally honest. I will petition the town to dissolve this authority. And with a surplus of what you have, that's very attractive.
Not to interrupt you, at this time,
Well, I'm
because
sure
it's
I'm
a
up
personnel
to my
matter.
3 minutes.
Because it's a personnel matter,
I
I would
understand.
request that you not distribute that information here as it involves an employee. That being said, if you're willing to give that information to me now, I will take it. The board is fully aware of what you just stated, and it's not something that, it's obviously on public record. So as attorneys, we can review it. If you want to first talk with your attorney and have them call our firm and myself, you can also do that if you feel more comfortable.
It should be in your attorney file.
I would not have a copy of that. I'm not sure what you're talking
What
about.
firm are you with?
I'm with Florio Carucci.
Oh yeah, they should have it.
And what year was this?
2016.
I do not have, I honestly have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll be honest with you, I'm
Because I
going
wasn't the
public
attorney
with
at the
this.
time.
I am not. I did not sign the release, which I thought was absurd to begin with. I did not sign a confidentiality agreement, which I thought was absurd to even request something like that. December 18th, the initial letter, it stated in here that property manager was inaccurate in his
I would
statement.
request
all.
that you make no further
It's fact.
allegations regarding any names or any titles of employees as they have not been notified of
Okay.
what's the correct.
Like I said, you don't want to deal with it here in a public meeting, I'll deal with it.
As I said, as this is a public meeting, employees have rights under the Constitution. We cannot speak
I
without their
understand that.
knowledge.
She
So
had a right
my
to.
request is
She had a
either-
right to be protected. I'm gonna tell you something. My mother made national news in 2012 because of harassment by your executive director about flying a flag. He called her into his office and cried to her about how he was getting death threats, and not to be offensive to anybody, but if you're offended by this comment, it's because it was exactly what he said to her was, somebody threatened to cut his balls off. Who says that to a 75-year-old woman?
That's not true. No, I
That-
shouldn't have to sit here.
Is it true?
That is so true.
That's not true.
At this
See,
time,
this-
I would request that
It's
you're now
true.
speaking about allegations regarding our employees. Again,
Okay,
employees have
like I
rights.
said, I'll go to the
And
news
they have to be
media.
notified and noticed. My only request at this time is you're bringing allegations to this board.
It's not allegations, it's
Harassment.
facts.
Oh, that being said-
These are documents from your housing authority and from your attorney and my attorney.
I am
It's
completely
facts.
unaware of those documents. At this time, I would request that you either provide them to me or have your attorney provide them to me so our firm can look into it, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Why don't you ask your executive director for those files? You should have them, if they kept them.
I can ask him and have that discussion with him and the board at a different time, but obviously not at this time in discussing personnel matters in open session of a public meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I actually only came here as a resident, and if I may, she just mentioned one thing about maintenance, and I'm sitting here, and, you know, I look after my maintenance guys, I think we got a great bunch of maintenance, but for you to say that the maintenance staff ignored any of her work orders.
Oh, no.
Well, listen, let me just say this. Work orders are generated through the front office. Back at that time, they might have still been hard copy, we might have switched over to the, I call them squawk box. Any work order came in, we made sure we did it. We always treated all of our residents with the utmost respect, even when maybe they shouldn't have got it.
I'm not saying it was the maintenance department.
Okay, I just
To
want to
clarify, it was,
Okay.
I'm not
I-
holding the maintenance
okay.
department. Would you like me to give
That's
you
all- that's all.
an example?
No,
Okay, because
No,
I have
no.
a very good example of one of the incidents.
no, I just want to make sure that my maintenance staff is not being hung out for anything that they did not do, because we stay on our work orders, our HUD records, our HUD numbers. They show the work order numbers, they give us 3 days.
HUD is a totally different story
That's all.
I could
That's
go
it.
into.
Now we're going
because-
down a whole
No,
different
no,
street.
just so we have that understand, that's all.
Because I contacted HUD and they were shocked at some of the stuff that I told them.
All right, I thank you all. If there's no other comments, I appreciate it very much. And that's it for our public